I was never a flashy guy. Didn't drive anything newer than a 10-year-old Ford. Wore out my boots before I replaced them. Every birthday, every anniversary, I never expected much. Just honesty, just effort. Jennifer knew that, or I thought she did. My 43rd birthday was supposed to mean something. It fell on the same day as our 15th anniversary, and I figured she might do something different this year. I'd even spotted the gift days earlier, tucked in the back of her closet in a pink Victoria's Secret bag with black ribbon. Not her usual style, but maybe that was the point. The tag read, "To my beloved." My gut told me not to read into it, but I did. All day at work, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I imagined candles, maybe a rare moment where we locked eyes like we used to. I pictured her in that lingerie, smiling like she used to when we were just starting out. I let myself hope. Stupid, I know. She came home late. No call. No text. Just walked through the front door like she forgot where she lived. Said, "Hey," like I was the damn doorman. I stood there with a steak dinner on the table, the kind she liked, medium rare, garlic butter, potatoes roasted with rosemary. The kids were already asleep upstairs. I had made sure of that. I wanted it to be just us. She handed me a bag. Thin paper from a gas station. Inside was a digital watch, the cheap kind you find by the counter near the gum. No card. No smile. She said, "Happy birthday," and went straight upstairs. That was the moment everything shifted. Not the pink bag. Not the missed dinner. That moment, her back disappearing into the hallway. No kiss, no thanks, no look back. 15 years and 2 kids, and I wasn't worth a damn good night. I sat down, stared at the untouched dinner, and felt something in me go quiet. Not break, not shatter, just silence. A kind of stillness I can't explain unless you've been there. When you realize the person beside you is already gone, but you're still paying the mortgage. I didn't follow her, didn't ask questions. I just cleaned the table, threw the steak in the trash, and opened the garage to sit in the truck. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I stared at the dashboard until the sun started to rise. That pink bag wasn't in our closet the next day. After that night, I stopped trying to make excuses for her. No more "she's tired," or "work's been rough," or "maybe I forgot something." I knew what silence smelled like now, and hers stunk of guilt. I started paying attention, not because I wanted to catch her, but because I knew I needed to stop lying to myself. Jennifer started dressing differently. Nothing outrageous, just enough that I noticed. Jeans that hugged a little tighter. That push-up bra she swore was uncomfortable when I bought it 3 years ago. Lipstick in the middle of the week. She wasn't dressing for me. That much was clear. Then came the late nights. Always something, "Debbie needed help," or "the deadline ran over," or "the girls wanted one drink." I stopped asking questions. Just nodded. "Okay, drive safe." I kept my voice steady. Let her walk out the door with the same damn lie in her eyes. I checked her phone one morning while she was in the shower. Not proud of it, but I needed answers. There wasn't much. She was smarter than that. But she had one of those health apps open. A calendar. The same 3 nights she came home late were marked with red hearts. I'm not stupid. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I went to work like normal, came home like normal, kissed my kids goodnight like nothing was wrong. But inside I was drawing maps, tracing every move, preparing for the storm I knew was coming. Then came the phone call. It was a Thursday evening. Jennifer had just left for book club. The house was quiet, and I was folding laundry because of course I was, when my phone rang. It was a mutual friend, Kathy. "Hey, just wondering if you guys were still coming to Alan's birthday this Saturday?" she asked. I froze. Jennifer didn't mention anything about Alan's birthday," I said. Kathy hesitated. "Oh, she said you were both going. Never mind. Maybe she forgot." I ended the call politely and walked straight to the garage. I had seen the pink gift bag again, tucked into the back of her car earlier that week. It is gone now. Alan. Alan was a coworker, married, smug. One of those guys who always laughed too loud at Jennifer's jokes at barbecues. The kind of guy who shook your hand but looked past you. The bag was for him. To my beloved. She wore new lingerie for him. She skipped our anniversary for him. She lied to my face and kissed our kids goodnight before going to his arms. Something inside me buckled. I sat in the garage again, hands shaking, vision tunneling in and out. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I clenched the steering wheel until my knuckles cracked. The kind of pain that keeps you from doing something stupid. The kind that says, wait, think, plan. That was the moment I knew I had to let go of the man I used to be. The husband, the provider, the one who forgave. That man was gone. What replaced him was quiet, cold, clear-eyed. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to her, her back to me, wondering if she'd showered after seeing him. I looked up at the ceiling fan and made a promise to myself. Not to hurt her, not to scream, not to stoop, but to outlast her, to survive her, to make sure she never took another thing from me again. She didn't even wait a full week after Alan's party. It was Sunday morning. I was flipping pancakes for the kids, still in my flannel pants and boots, because I had plans to fix a leak under the kitchen sink. Jennifer walked in with her coffee mug like she always did, ceramic, white, chipped at the lip. No makeup, no smile, no eye contact. She took a long sip and said, flat as drywall, I want a divorce. Not a pause, not a stammer, like she was asking for oat milk at the store. I didn't look at her, just flipped the last pancake, put it on a plate for Ethan, and wiped my hands on a towel. Fine, I said. She blinked. I saw it out of the corner of my eye, like she was expecting a fight, a plea, a breakdown, something, anything. But I gave her nothing. She stared at me like I'd failed to follow the script. I think it's for the best, she added, trying to sound calm. We've been drifting for a while now. No argument here, I said, still not looking at her. And that was it. She nodded once and left the room. The kids didn't hear a thing. I poured syrup over their plates and asked how their cartoons were. I waited until Monday afternoon to call a lawyer. The first meeting felt like getting sucker punched in the stomach while smiling for a passport photo. Turns out, in the state of Illinois, infidelity means jack in divorce court unless there's a prenup or a criminal act. She'd get the house unless I bought her out. She'd likely get alimony since I'd earned more during the marriage. She might even get majority custody because she worked fewer hours and was more present during the weekdays. I sat in that office while the attorney rattled off what I was about to lose. Not what she stole, not what she threw away, what I'd lose. I clenched my jaw so hard my molars hurt. How do men win in this situation? I asked. He looked at me the way doctors do when they don't want to say the word cancer. Then he said, they don't win, Mr. Smith. They survive. I nodded, just once. By the end of the day, I had set up a secure folder on my work computer and started organizing what little leverage I had: timelines, bank statements, receipts. I created a burner email, rented a P.O. box. I also called a second lawyer. I didn't tell Jennifer about any of it. She thought I was licking my wounds, sleeping on the couch because I was too crushed to argue. I wasn't crushed. I was calculating. Every time she asked about paperwork or keeping it civil, I smiled. I said, of course. Every time she said she hoped we could still be friends for the kids, I nodded. I said, that's important to me too. But I was done playing the good man. I didn't raise my voice, didn't touch her, didn't slam a single door. I just started drawing battle lines she didn't even know existed. Because if she was going to burn down our life, I'd make damn sure she didn't walk away with the ashes. I looked at our savings account like a fresh battlefield. There was about $76,000 in combined savings and investment accounts. Another $24,000 in the emergency fund we never touched. Most of it had my name on it, but in court that wouldn't mean a damn thing. So I started bleeding it out. Quietly, strategically, and with one goal in mind. Leave her nothing but smoke. I stopped working overtime. Then I stopped working altogether. Took a medical leave of absence, citing stress and chronic fatigue. I had the doctor's note ready before she even noticed I was home in the middle of the day. Then came the losses. I pulled money and transferred it to gambling apps, just enough to look like addiction without raising red flags. Of course, I wasn't gambling. I was laundering, looping it through crypto, prepaid debit cards, and private transfers until every dollar she thought she'd claim was buried under 5 layers of smoke. Some of it I used for appearances, TVs, watches, expensive tools, stuff she'd assume I was just wasting in some post-marriage meltdown. But most of it went into a private safe at my cousin Nate's farm, sealed in cash and silver. Jennifer thought I was falling apart. In reality, I was building a bunker. Then came the surveillance. I hired a PI, costly but worth every dime. I gave him 3 names: Alan, the main affair partner; Paul, her old college flame who suddenly popped back into her DMs; and Reese, her gym trainer who texted her way too often for someone just spotting her squats. The PI delivered a gold mine. Photos, timestamps, hotel check-ins, screenshots of her texts, phone logs, and even one voicemail she accidentally left while fumbling with her purse at a Red Roof Inn. It wasn't just Alan. She was a damn carousel. And the best part? She never saw it coming. She thought I was depressed, defeated. She pitied me, thinking she held the power now. She even started acting generous, talking about letting me keep the truck, like that was some kind of favor. She'd order takeout and ask, "Did you eat today?" with fake sympathy in her voice. It took everything in me not to laugh. I was eating better than ever, just not with her. And every moment she played the concerned wife in front of the kids, every time she texted me a fake smiley face or dropped casual guilt in conversation, I added another mental tally mark. She thought she was moving on while I sank. But I wasn't sinking. I was staging the fire. I took out student loans and enrolled in a fast-track MBA program. Drained another $20,000 there. Another court-approved expense she couldn't touch. I used that program to build connections, brush up on legal traps, and prepare for the second life I was already planning without her. And just for kicks, I bought myself a Rolex knockoff and wore it to mediation. Jennifer asked, "Is that real?" I smiled and said, "Nothing these days." By the time our joint accounts hit $2,300, she finally asked, "Where did all the money go?" I just shrugged. "Guess life got expensive." She stormed out, slammed the door, cursed me under her breath. But she still thought she was winning. And that was fine by me, because the day she realized the fire wasn't just burning under me, but under everything, would be the day she had nothing left to take. A year passed. Divorce proceedings stalled. Jennifer got sloppy. Her new boyfriends didn't stick. One got arrested for fraud. Another had a live-in girlfriend he forgot to mention. She was still in the house legally, but more like a ghost. We barely spoke unless it was about the kids or scheduling mediations. I had stopped reacting to her months ago. No arguments, no snide remarks, just quiet detachment. It was worse than anger, and I knew she felt it. Then she started dressing up again. Not like she used to for them. This time it was different, softer, like she was trying to remember how to be a wife. She'd linger in the kitchen while I cooked, asked how my day was, laughed a little louder at nothing. Once, she even touched my arm and said, "You've been working out again." I just nodded and kept stirring the sauce. Jennifer started suggesting therapy. Said we owed it to the kids to at least try. She started leaving self-help books on the kitchen table, ones about healing and reconnecting. She even sent me an email titled, "Starting Over Together." I didn't reply. The final straw was her birthday. I knew she was expecting something. A gesture, a card, maybe even a dinner invitation. She lingered in the hallway that morning like she was waiting for me to speak first. I didn't. That night, after the kids went to sleep, I left a small box on the kitchen table, wrapped in the same cheap, wrinkled paper she had used on my birthday. No card, no note, just the same presentation, only now the roles were reversed. Inside was the same gas station digital watch she'd given me a year ago, still ticking. She opened it while standing in the kitchen alone. I watched from the hallway, unseen, as she stared down at it for almost a full minute. No tears, no tantrum, just stillness. She sat down at the table, clutching the watch like it was a live wire, her face frozen somewhere between shame and recognition. That was my answer to all her hints, her games, her false kindness. It wasn't revenge. It was a mirror. The next morning, she barely looked at me, didn't ask how I slept, didn't comment on my coffee, just kept her head down and left early for work. And from that moment on, she never tried again, because she finally understood what I had become. I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. Jennifer filed first, finally. Almost 2 years after asking for the divorce, she walked into mediation like she expected a settlement gift basket. She wore pearls and a stiff navy blazer, like she was interviewing for a promotion. She wanted the house, full custody of the kids, $1,500 a month in spousal support, and half of what she believed remained of our savings. She smiled politely through it all, like I was just a speed bump on her path to reinvention. I didn't flinch. I didn't argue. I didn't even speak. My lawyer did. He slid a thick folder across the table, labeled, tabbed, color-coded. Inside, surveillance photos, credit card receipts from her hotel stays, sworn affidavits from 2 of her coworkers who confirmed she was in relationships with clients, a full financial audit showing where the joint funds actually went, and how she'd been double-dipping, stashing side money while accusing me of draining the accounts. But that was just the start. I'd also filed a lawsuit against her company. The firm had a strict morality clause in their partnership agreements, and Jennifer had been sleeping with clients while representing their cases. One of them, a married CEO, was already under investigation for misconduct, and her involvement opened a door wide enough for the press to stroll through. She was suspended within 48 hours, officially fired a week later. Her name was stripped from the website, her reputation burned. But I wasn't done. Every piece of evidence I gave to my attorney was also sent to her parents, her brother, her 2 closest friends, the ones she lied to, the ones she'd leaned on to paint me as the dull, unfeeling husband who drove her to find herself. I didn't frame it with anger. I didn't beg for sympathy. I just sent the truth, and I let it speak louder than I ever had. When Jennifer showed up at my door, makeup smeared, hair tangled, voice cracking, I didn't yell. She stood on the porch, trembling. "You ruined my life." I looked at her for a long time before answering, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I wanted her to sit in that silence, the one I had lived in since the moment she handed me that cheap watch and walked upstairs. "I didn't ruin your life," I finally said. "You did that the moment you forgot how to respect it." She blinked, tears threatening to fall, but I wasn't moved. "I don't hate you," I said calmly. "You're just not my wife anymore." And then I closed the door. No slamming, no speech, just the quiet end of a story she thought she controlled. I didn't need to destroy her. I just stepped out of the way and let gravity finish the job. After the firm dropped her, it spread fast. Legal circles were small, and once her name hit the forums, every burned client came crawling out of the woodwork. She tried to spin it, of course, claimed it was all revenge from a bitter ex. But screenshots don't lie. Dates, times, receipts, they lined up too well. Her own father, a retired judge, cut her off, told her not to come around until she learned the meaning of responsibility. Her mother blocked her on Facebook. Her brother sent me a text I didn't expect, didn't know, would have handled it differently if I had. "Are you good?" I didn't answer. Jennifer moved out a month later, not because of the divorce ruling, but because she couldn't afford to stay. No firm wanted her, not even for paralegal work. A couple of her old friends offered couches, but even that dried up once they realized she wasn't just unlucky. She was radioactive. She settled in some rundown town 2 counties over. I heard through the grapevine she was working nights at a bar off the highway. Word was she told people her husband took everything. Not quite. I didn't take the kids, didn't take the house, didn't even ask for the car. I just took away the lie she'd built her new life on and made sure the world saw the rot underneath. My lawyer secured a settlement that gave me full custody and control of the house. Jennifer didn't contest it. Not after the countersuit. Not after the ethics board took her license. Not after she realized no amount of charm could clean her slate. But I didn't celebrate. I didn't throw a party or buy a boat. Instead, I sat alone at the dining table one night with a cup of coffee, staring at the dent in the wall from where I once dropped a picture frame during a move. The kids were asleep. The house was quiet. I had won. But I didn't feel anything. Not pride. Not joy. Just silence again. The same kind that started this all. I had taken back control. Secured a future for my children. Removed a liar from my home and exposed her to the world. But the man I used to be, the one who smiled at her in the candlelight, who built this life plank by plank, he never came back. He'd been buried under all those nights waiting for her to come home. People think healing is some upward climb. Like if you just do the right things, hit the gym, get a new job, find a rebound, you'll feel whole again. It's not like that. Healing feels more like dragging a shovel through concrete. And most days, you don't even care if you're digging in the right direction. After the dust settled, I returned to what I knew best, construction management. I took a small commercial contract in Joliet, then another in Gary. I worked long hours, didn't talk much. The crews liked that about me. By the third year, I had founded my own firm, Smith Projects. Low overhead, high discipline, no tolerance for shortcuts or BS. Word spread. We expanded fast. 6 years later, I sold the company for $1.1 million. But money doesn't tuck you in at night. By then, the kids were older. Ethan was getting ready for college. Marcy had grown into a fiercely independent teenager with my jawline and her grandmother's sarcasm. They were okay. Stronger than I expected. I gave them structure, security, and space to breathe. I never badmouthed their mother. I didn't have to. They watched everything. The only softness left in my life came from Irma. She was a widow in her 60s, Puerto Rican, and ran her house like a military operation. I hired her as a housekeeper when my work life took off, but she quickly became more than that. Grandmother, confidant, the only woman I trusted around my children. She'd slap my shoulder with a wooden spoon and say, "You're too cold, Michael. You need heat in your life. Not just paycheck heat." I'd smile and nod, but I didn't date. Not seriously. I paid for company when the nights got heavy. Quiet, clean, no drama, no risk of lies. I didn't have space for another fantasy. Love, romance, those were for younger men or fools who hadn't read the fine print. My therapist, yes, I eventually got one, told me I had PTSD. Not from war or violence, but from betrayal. She said it rewired my trust like a fuse blown in the dark. Maybe she was right, but I didn't feel broken. Just built differently now. I functioned. I provided. I stayed sharp. But I never let anyone back inside. Because when someone burns your house down while you're still in it, you don't rebuild for guests. You build a fortress. And you live alone. 16 years went by. That pink gift bag had long since crumbled in the trash. But the memory? Still sharp as broken glass under bare feet. I am 60 now. Gray around the temples. Still strong, still quiet. Ethan had become a mechanical engineer in Ohio. Marcy opened a bakery in Wisconsin. Sharp, sarcastic, and brave, just like her grandma used to be. They visited often, called regularly, sent me videos and pictures. But I stayed out of their lives unless invited. I respected the boundaries I never got. Then came Marcy's wedding. She called me 3 months ahead, nervous. "Dad, I invited Mom." I let the silence hang. "She's not walking me down the aisle. That's you. Always was. Always will be." I just thought it was time. I told her I'd be there, that I'd smile, that I'd behave. And I meant it. The church was small, warm, rustic with wooden beams and soft yellow lights. I wore a charcoal suit and polished boots. When I walked Marcy down the aisle, she gripped my hand tighter than she had in years. No tears, just strength. Then, during the reception, I saw her, Jennifer, sitting at the back corner of the hall in a muted blue dress that looked 3 decades old. Her once blonde hair was streaked with silver. The woman who used to turn heads now avoided them. She looked up as I approached the buffet. For a second, she froze. Then she forced a smile. "Michael." "Jennifer," I said, nodding once. We stood there for a moment. The hum of conversation surrounded us. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something meaningful, but what came out was venom. You ruined my life first. I didn't flinch. I looked at her like she was just another chapter in a book I'd long since finished. I hope he made you happy, I said, calm and quiet. She looked away. Nothing left to fire back. I walked past her and grabbed a plate of brisket. That was it. No long speech. No poetic ending. Just a final glance at a life that used to be mine and a quiet walk back to the people who still mattered. Later that night, Marcy and I stood by the exit, saying goodbye to the last of the guests. She leaned in, resting her head against my shoulder. Thanks for everything, Dad. I kissed her temple. Just live happily, baby girl. That's all I ever wanted. As I walked to my truck, the cool night air hit my lungs like a fresh start. I didn't look back. That story was over, and I didn't need to read it again.